Welcome to my show and looking over my website. Kudos to Shalane Flanagan. She won the the New York Marathon here last week. I've had the chance to see them both. Won the New York Marathon, one of the premier events in this country and really in the world. Shalane is 36 years old, and she's a graduate from my alma mater, University of North Carolina, where I had the great honor of running track. She was a superstar then. But can you believe at 36 years old, she won the New York Marathon? First time since 2006 that an American woman has won that marathon. Usually the Kenyans win it. They have the last few years, and she won it. And more power to her. Again, a great tradition from Carolina track. If you're a track aficionado like I am, of course I am. I got a scholarship to go to University of North Carolina. Changed my life in terms of my education, and track was wonderful to me. And a lot of you know that we write about politics. I write my column that has political overtones. We talk a lot on my radio show about politics. And I would tell you that athletics was the key to getting me involved in politics to begin with. Kind of interesting how the two tie in. And I made that tie before. 2 weeks ago, I wrote about baseball and politics and my choice of baseball. But will reminisce with you if you'd let me do so. I was at the University of North Carolina, had the honor of winning the Atlantic Coast Conference Championship in both the high and low hurdles, was on the relay teams, around the quarter mile, and then had the great luck of being picked to go on the United States track team that traveled all over Europe, a number of places in the world, running against other countries. This was 1963. It was an Olympic year, but you still have the U.S. team in years that are not Olympic years. So I took off to Europe, decided to go to Cambridge University at the time, where I studied English literature. Then on the weekends, I'd fly over to the continent and run track meets. Track is very big in the fall in Europe. And so there are many track meets. Small towns, maybe 50 or 100,000, will have a big fundraiser where they will bring in all the best athletes in the country. Then they want a few Americans to kind of hype up the crowd. And my privilege to run with some really great superstars. Ralph Boston, who then had the world's record in the broad jump and was extremely fast. Paul Warfield, that went on and was a great wide receiver and running back for the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, Bullet Bob Hayes, then the fastest man in the world, and went on to be the great receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. Had a great relationship with Bob Hayes, and I had the pleasure of running the first part of the anchor, the 400-meter relay team. I ran the first leg and handed off to the fastest man in the world. You can imagine my apprehension of wanting to be sure I got that baton in straight. Well, to bring it back to politics, what happened to me was that we were to run against the German team. Then we had about a week break. And we had an agent that looked out for us and would book us in various smaller meets. And the agent said, "Jim, are you interested in going to East Germany? East Germany has a big meet. It's their annual meet. They want a few Americans. Hayes and some of the others couldn't go, but they want you to come over." And back then, you were an amateur. You didn't get any money, but you got a prize, and you kind of negotiated your prize. The agent that represented me would say, "Look, we'll have Brown come over and run your track meet, but to do so, he needs to have a television set and a washer and a dryer," which meant $2,500 was the going rate I usually got in running track meets back then. And so I went to East Germany to run the meet, had to cross the border. Now, remember, this is where the tension was, or the Berlin Wall was. We had to cross over. And you'd think, why would you even get involved in something like that, crossing over into East Berlin that was controlled by not just East Germany, but also the Russians. But to me, I'm looking to run a track meet. That's all I was concerned about. So I went over to East Germany. Came in that morning, stayed in West Berlin the night before, and was going to run the track meet in the huge stadium, the Olympic Stadium, where Hitler had snubbed Jesse Owens. This is the main stadium that they had over there. About 80,000 people at the track meet. And of course, the premier event was played the hurdle race, high hurdles, between a very fast East German and me. At the time, I was one of the better hurdlers in the world. And so we were to square off. I think the race started at 7 o'clock. I was warming up. About 6:30, in advance of the race, my agent said, "There's a fellow that wants to see you." And there was an American. He was from the embassy over in West Berlin. And he said, "Look, you can't run this track meet." And I said, why? I'm here all geared up. I feel great. I'm going to beat this East German, and I'm looking to run the race. He says, no, you can't do so. He says, Mr. Brown, you can start an international incident, because what you don't realize is the Americans don't recognize, the U.S. government does not recognize East Germany or East Berlin. They think it's all one city. And therefore, if you run as the member of the U.S. track team, we could start an international incident. You just can't run. It'll be an affront to your country, and you can't do it. Well, here, like I say, I'm a 21-year-old kid that just wants to beat this East German and have some fun, see that part of the world, and come back home, go back to England to continue my studies. But I had enough common sense to know that I couldn't belittle my representation of the U.S. track team and open up some international incident in any way, betray my country. I wasn't going to do that. So the agent told the meet promoter, I didn't speak German, they did, that I could not run the race. I was going to have to withdraw. Well, have you ever seen a football stadium? The track where I was running was at one end, and I had to cross the entire stadium of grass to get over to the men's locker room to change my clothes. As I said I wasn't going to run and I walked across the grass, the crowd started whistling. And I didn't know what it meant. I later found out that Germans, that's how they boo. We boo in our country. They whistle. They were whistling to show their displeasure. And I was told that the announcer said the American was afraid to run against these German. Boy, I was livid about that. But I got back across into West Berlin, and really shouldn't say this, but at Checkpoint Charlie, where you cross, there was a little waiting room they stuck me in for a while. And I took a little penknife I had and carved a nasty little message to these Germans in the rock. Probably shouldn't have done so, could have gotten a lot of trouble. Anyway, that was my first taste of politics and international intrigue and things that I didn't think should affect me at all, and sparked my interest in more public issues as I was at Cambridge and in the months to come. So I share that story with you. And again, congratulations to Charlene Flanagan for winning the New York Marathon, and go Tar Heels. Glad you did so well this year. Take care. Glad you're watching us here on our program today.